Okay, it says we're live. If anybody's over there in the chat, say something so we'll know you're out there. But I've got my friend Brian Terrell with me tonight, and I'm in the woods. Brian's not. He's in the air conditioning, and I'm out here getting eaten by mosquitoes. I think one of us is not real smart, and that's probably me. But I'm I actually did a podcast from here. Oh shoot, uh, in May, and it's been so stinking hot since then. And I just got cabin fever. And today it was only 96 instead of 106. So,
Only 90s.
hey, there's Kansas Squatch. How you doing, man? So I thought, I'm going to go out and do a podcast, just spur of the moment. So I didn't have this announced, and called up Brian and said, "Hey, you want to be on a podcast tonight?" And he said, "Sure, why not?" Uh, Actually, the first thing he said was, "I'm not in the woods." I said, "Yeah, I know you're not." But yeah, I'm got down here about an hour ago, and I've got good phone signal, so I thought we'd just do our show from here. Yeah, Kansas Squash said it's only 83 there. I think here it's still very humid in these creek bottoms where I'm at, and still very hot, and mosquitoes have decided they like me. So whatever you say about this podcast, I am suffering for you guys. And happy to do it. But yeah, Brian, I thought we'd have him on and let him talk a little bit about a new project he's working on and some of the things that he and Red Dirt Cryptid have planned for the near future.
Mm. Well, right now my main focus is trying to get my new book out there to where people can get it on Amazon. And I pretty much got everything done, but getting the cover artwork figured out has been kicking my butt. Apparently, it's got to be just the right dimensions to fit on there. And, I'm not exactly the most tech savvy guy on the planet.
I can help you with that. Talk
Yeah.
to me after the show and I can hook you up.
Okay.
Man, seriously, on Amazon, if you don't have somebody helping you with that, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough, a good friend of our family has published a few books, and she hooked me up with her editor, which I didn't really need the editing part, but I did need the formatting, which makes everything fit where it's supposed to.
Yeah. I've
So,
already redone mine like 4 times and tried
yeah,
plugging it in there, and it's just not working.
I tell you
So,
what, I will talk to the lady that helped me out, and I don't know if she's doing it for the public or just doing it for me because I was a friend of the family. But I'll mention you to her, and if she's wanting to do it for some extra, I'll send you her information. There's the
well, I've
Bigfoot
actually,
Society.
I work at a tech center, the Votech. That's
Uh,
a bad word where I come from, but my worst case scenario is I'm going to have to go sweet talk the graphic arts teacher over there at my school. She knows how to do all this stuff and how to make everything fit. So worst
oh,
case
okay.
scenario, I'll have
Yeah,
it
those
on. Yeah,
people that know how to make all that stuff fit, they're worth their weight in gold.
yeah.
Uh,
Cheryl
'Cause
is my friend, and but
I
yeah,
use
once
the
I get the artwork, once I get the book cover all squared away, I think I'm pretty sure that I'm on the final stage of actually having it published where it can be bought online,
yeah.
and I'm
You're
excited.
really cracking up, Brian.
Really?
Yeah, you just started distorting really bad all of a sudden.
Huh? How about now? Does that sound any better?
No, it's you're sound like you're on a broken speaker.
Really? I do have a little fan here. Let me turn it off. Does that sound any better at all?
No.
Oh, no, I don't know what it would be. I don't. It's just the laptop speaker.
Hey, in the chat, can you guys hear Brian clearly, or is he he's good on that end? Okay. Well, it may just be our connection then.
Yeah, it might be.
Okay. Carry on then. I won't interrupt you anymore.
So I've once that thing gets out, I'm pretty excited about that. I've got another project that I'm going to start working on right after. Creating a book is kind of addictive. It's like once you realize that you can do it and you get it all out there, and it becomes kind of like, well, I've got another idea and I've got another idea. So I've got two separate different projects that I'm going to start working on as soon as I get this one squared away. And we're gonna tomorrow we're gonna meet me and my team, and we're gonna discuss our calendar, our plans for outings clear through till probably next spring. We're going to meet tomorrow and try to get some stuff figured out. We usually go out at least once a month and do some type of expedition or whatever in some hot spot that we know of. And we move around the state, avoiding deer season. Like I said before, deer season is always problematic because you don't want to end up getting shot. But trying to find places to go, and we've got plenty of places to go. We just have to be delicate in how we plan them, and trying to find time frames that everybody can go is usually a little bit difficult, but not everybody gets to make every one, as you guys have probably seen if you ever watched any of my videos. So
you guys figured out where you're going this year yet?
Well, I know that we're going to be doing some work out at Canton. We've got a place out in northeastern Oklahoma that we've been kind of working, and that's we don't really talk about exactly where that's at. It's kind of a private location.
Secret location, yeah.
If you tell everybody where you're going, there's always that one guy that's he's like, hey man, I've got a great idea. I know where these Squatch guys are going to be, and we're going to go out there, make some fake footprints or something like that. And
yep, I know what you mean.
The last thing I want to do is be out there chasing my tail. And
I hear you. Hey, there's Cashew.
Oh, yep, there she is. Gesundheit.
Yep. Good to see you, Cashew. Yeah, I'm going to be on a show that she's worked up here. Like I said, talking to you earlier, on the 24th. Cashew, you can advertise that if you want, because I forgot the name of the YouTube channel, but I marked it on my calendar, so looking forward to it. So all of that. Okay, Brian, I can hear you clearly now. It must have just been my signal. I walked down the road a little bit and come back, and you're really good. So
that's weird. I don't know.
So were you talking about your book much when you were cutting out?
Yeah, once I've got it all written, and it's like we was talking about, getting it in the format that Kindle Direct will take it. That's a little bit different story. The book portion of it is great. I'm just struggling with the cover art. So
okay. Do you want to give us a teaser about what kind of stuff you're going to have in the book?
Well, the book has it's a variety. It's about a variety of cryptids. And hold on a second, my computer, even though my computer is plugged in, it just told me that no wonder it's unplugged. Hold on. I have all this figured out.
Yeah, I will apologize for our lack of preparedness. Like I said, I kind of ambushed Brian this afternoon and said, hey, I'm going out in the woods. I think we should do a podcast. Do you want to be on it? And he's like, yeah, okay. Um, hey,
You just
Cashew,
saw that. That was funny.
what's the name of the YouTube channel that you're working on that you guys invited me on? If you want to put that up there, you're very welcome to.
Hold on just a second. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. I think I just broke.
Yeah, I've got a couple of books I'm still working on too. I should have been already through, but it's having the time to sit down and write as much as I should. David Devine broadcasted. David Devine. Okay.
Seems like I've heard of him.
Yeah, I don't think I have yet. Cashew got in touch with me, I believe last week, and asked me if I would come on their show. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. There's a place over here in northwestern Oklahoma called Divine Water. And I immediately, when I heard his name, I thought about that. Okay, so I should be good to go now.
Okay, so tell us some neat stuff about what your book's going to have in it.
Okay. Well, it's basically a kind of a basic intro to what all type of cryptids are commonly reported here in Oklahoma. And we go over some things like Dogman, Sasquatch, Deer Woman, Little People, the flying cryptids, like the pterodactyl type creatures that people see. And what I've done is I've gone through and broke it into sections, and I give kind of a synopsis of what they are, where, kind of what they look like, what their behaviors and habits are. And then I go through and I list case files that I have on that particular type of cryptid. And some of the case files are just, put right into the book so that you can read it. I never have actually taken time to count how many case files are in that book, but it's a lot. I about imagine it's probably in the neighborhood of 40 or 50 case files. And it talks about everything from the El Reno Chicken Man to the Siege of Hanabi, and there's a bunch of other ones in there. I even talked about the casino footage out at Concho, and I even mentioned that video that you guys that you did about that whole thing.
Yeah,
and
that was very fascinating.
Yeah, you were very, very fortunate. And I like your story about how you were thinking, what in the heck could be out there, in Western Oklahoma.
It shocked me actually until I got there, and there's that, I believe the North Canadian River runs very close. There's a lot of, I think they travel that trackway of that river, and there, as there at that Concho, there's a wooded area with a lot of natural springs there.
Yeah, there is.
It's, for lack of a better word, kind of a Bigfoot way station, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't think they're there all the time.
Yeah. Well, if you follow that river, it goes and it ends up dumping into Canton Lake. And Canton Lake has a massive wildlife management area upstream and downstream of it. And we find footprints out there all year long. So I don't think they're coming and going. I think that is a year-round habitat for them to live. And we've identified by their footprints 6 different individuals out there at Canton WMA.
Wow.
So, and we've got one out there that's a 17-inch footprint. And I have yet to be able to get a decent cast off of it. Usually when I find these 17-inch footprints, they're either in mud and they're just completely uncastable, or they're in very fine sand. So one of these days, though, you got something going on over there?
There's something in the woods over there. There's a water hole over here, so all the critters come up to it. I did hear a wood knock here a little earlier, which the area that I'm in, there has been, activity reported here for, I know at least over the past 40 years, because I remember one from when I was a kid. Hey, I want to stop right now and say something we need to bring up. Tim P. Mentioned Scott Carpenter, and for y'all that don't know, you probably already do, but Scott Carpenter, well-known Bigfoot researcher, passed away like yesterday, I think, maybe the day before, but I heard about it yesterday. Very sad. Did you know Scott at all, Brian?
No, I'd messaged him a couple of times back and forth, but you know, kind of one of those things where I was just asking him dumb questions. But you know, he did a lot of work, and some of this good work, and some of the stuff that he did, I copycatted, like his whole thing of putting a GoPro facing backwards. I've done that a couple of times. And
I did that, and I still have not gone back through all that footage yet. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have something. But I have, over the last 2 or 3 years, I never met Scott personally, but I've spoken to him on the phone a few times. Because to my knowledge, he's the first person. I could be wrong here, but I asked him this question. Because you know he really pushed the of the view that the Sasquatch were the remnants of the biblical Nephilim, right? You know, that was a big view of his, and I mentioned that in my book, Kiamichi Bigfoot. I have a chapter called "What Are They," and I'm not backing all of these different beliefs that people have had, but I wanted to include them, that if you're getting to the Bigfoot subject, you're going to hear these things. So I don't ever want to misrepresent anyone. So I called Scott up, and he told me exactly why he believed that's what they were, and how other cryptids like Dogman, Bigfoot, and other things probably were in that same category. His view, okay? And I asked him, I said, Scott, are you the one that kind of the first one to pioneer, I'll use that word, pioneer that opinion about the whole Nephilim thing? And he was quiet for a little bit, and he said, you know, he said, I may be, you know, so, but that, I just knew Scott in a casual way like that. Never met him personally, but he was always very, all the exchanges he and I had, he was always very polite and seemed like a nice person. And my heart goes out to his family. I mean, look at his birthday. I think this month he would have been 60 years old at the end of this month. That's
way too young.
I remember not too long ago, I thought that was old, but the closer I get to it, that just seems way too young. So, yeah, very, very sad to hear that. You know, we lost almost a year to the day. We lost Kerry Arnold last year. Now, Kerry and I were, you know, friends. I considered him a friend. We had worked on some stuff together. I was on one of his documentaries he did. And matter of fact, hey, there's the Bigfoot Museum of Oklahoma. Good to see you, Tanya.
Hey,
Matter
Tanya.
of fact, the night before Kerry was killed in the car wreck, I was on the side of a mountain with Tanya and her husband, looking around, and Kerry called me about doing his show, and then the next day he was gone. That just too many people dying, man. Too many good people.
Young.
So
too.
all I can say is, your friends, let them know how you feel about them. If you got enemies, try to make it right. You know, they're just, life's too short.
You never
and
know.
I'll shut up and let you go now. But
yeah. Well, I agree with you, Dave. You never know when your time is up, and you never know when the Lord's ready to bring you home. So you need to live like you're ready to go. So
yeah,
I guess,
yeah, life's too short to have grudges against people or them at you. And I'd rather go out with a lot of friends than even one enemy. So, and
right. I'll tell you something else that all the stuff
okay,
when
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, when people ask me about, how to keep Sasquatch off of your property, I mean, I just basically verbatim told them what Scott would tell them, because he was right about all that. So it was setting up trail
What are you
cameras.
talking?
Oh, trying to keep nuisance Sasquatch off your
What
property.
did he say to do?
He would say to, well, first of all, lights, lots of lights, and set up trail
Oh, yeah.
cameras because they could see the infrared and stuff like that, and just light the place up. And that's usually the standard advice that I give people, when they call me and they're wanting to, keep them out. That's really the best way is lights and infrared cameras. So,
Yeah. Um, and I joke. I'll tell you, the last time I talked to Scott, though, I did make a joke, and he laughed. But the spiritual nature he thinks he is. He would say, rebuke them in the name of Jesus, and they'll leave. And I said, well, I tried that, Scott, and it turned out the Bigfoot was a Buddhist, and it didn't work. So well, that's my sense of humor. If you know me, I laugh a lot. I've got a sense of humor. Don't get offended. He didn't. But somebody asked me up here, said, did Scott tell you exactly why he thought they were Nephilim? Not necessarily why, but he believed, and I put it down very carefully in that chapter in my book because, like I said, I don't ever want to misrepresent anyone, but he believed that they were the remnants of the giants or the Nephilim from Genesis chapter 6, where it says, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair and took of them wives of all that they chose and had offspring by them. Now, I don't share that view. Okay. Totally, completely respect anybody that does. I don't care. It doesn't change my world or yours. But those were the men of renown, the mighty men of old in Genesis chapter 6. Now, I don't know how that would translate into a Sasquatch, because the Nephilim that are spoken of in Genesis, and by the way, I have theological training. I'm not just talking out of my head. The mighty men of old that's talking about are the same demigods that are talked about in Greek mythology and stuff, like Hercules, such as that, the offspring of a god, little g, and a human woman. They were the heroes of old. Okay. So, and I made the comment to Scott, like, so do you think that maybe the Bigfoot are like their just downgraded version or so? But I mean, you can go to like the Book of Enoch, which is not in the canon, but I think it's got some good information on that. And there were, that goes a little more into it. But anyway, that was his view. Totally respect it. Enjoyed talking to him about that. Personally, I like to talk to people that have different views than me. I like to be challenged. Okay. And, me and Brian don't agree with everything on
no,
each other.
it's okay,
And we're
though.
still good friends, and that,
Mhm.
I think that's, if you hang around with only people that think exactly like you do, especially on this subject that none of us really know exactly what they are, that would just be boring. I want to talk to people that may have some different views than I do. And
Right.
sometimes I'll learn something new.
Yeah.
Big subject between me and, hey, there's Will Star. Uh, so, I'll try to answer as many questions as I can here. But I'm on my cell phone out here in the woods, so if I miss something, it's not on
Mm-hmm.
purpose. And Cashew, that is a very nice thing to say to me. That's very
I
nice.
saw that.
Um,
Hey, Dave,
yes, sir.
let me throw something in about the Nephilim thing. There's a
Okay,
lot of
go ahead.
little reasons why people tend to think that they're Nephilim or the descendants thereof. One of the things that I think that gets everybody's attention is that when people encounter them and they have these these frightening moments, they call out to the Lord, and when they do that, these creatures will run. That's a very common theme, and I think that's kind of taken hold. Another one is Dr. Melba Ketchum's DNA work, where it came back as unknown species on the male side. And of course, everybody kind of connected the dots there, because if it's not something that we already have, DNA evidence on, it's something else, so I think a lot of people went to the Nephilim on that deal too. So, and then there's all those people that when they encounter these things, they get the impression that they're demonic, that you'll hear people say things like, well, it looked like, I just felt like it wanted to kill me or something. And I don't know how much of that is, fiction that's made up, for storybook telling and, to boost your ratings. But
and
people
too,
do.
Brian, that's a natural fear reaction that somebody may have is something like that that's unknown. I mean, if I ran into a big bear walking toward me down this road, I might have the opinion that thing might want to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but would you think it's demonic?
Huh?
But would you think it was demonic?
Well, if it's trying to eat me, I wouldn't think it was angelic.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, I got to say this, man. Just me personally, I'm not especially superstitious about stuff like that. I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God. I'm a Christian and stuff. I don't spend a lot of time worrying about things like that, and I've never had a problem with it. I think if this is just Dave, not anybody else. But I think if you spend a lot of time dwelling on something in fear that possibly it's demonic or something, you may have a little more problem with it than somebody that don't. I hope that came out right. But anyway, yeah, Tim P said the government is hiding secrets. Yeah, no argument there. Especially with all this new stuff coming out with the UFOs and stuff, which I've been watching that really, really close. Speaking, okay, let's talk about something that you researched that you and I have differing opinions on what these things might be if they are in fact real, and it's something you've spent a lot of time on, and it is the Dogman.
Yeah. Well, you and I agree to disagree on whether they're spiritual or whether they're physical. I think they're
paranormal
physical.
is the word I used.
Yeah. And, I believe they're a physical creature. Spiritual, I think everything is spiritual. I think everything has some type of metaphysical spirit to one degree or another. Whether or not it has a soul is a completely different argument that I'm not prepared to, stand on. But the two I saw were very physical. They look like a very flesh and blood type creature. The things that people report that make people think that they're paranormal in nature, most of the time they report the same phenomenon about Sasquatch. And I respect your opinion on that. They just are kind of unholy in a way, and they just don't
say
seem like
unholy. I just said paranormal.
Yeah, that they shouldn't exist is the word
and
and
I respect your opinion as well. It's a good conversation.
Yeah, but I've got in my case files. I haven't counted them recently, but I'm pretty sure I've got over 50 Dogman case files right now, just from Oklahoma and South Kansas, and they're being reported more and more. People are coming out of the woodwork. I always tell everybody that, you take the Sasquatch phenomenon and how it's grown and how it's become a thing, and how, 30 years ago, nobody talked about it. Nowadays, you can come out, you can talk about it. I always tell everybody that the Dogman genre phenomenon, it's like 30 years behind the Sasquatch one. Nobody's really talking about it yet, but they're just now kind of starting to. Evidence is starting to come out. Dr. Ketchum has, Dogman DNA that she's working with. And, I was shocked to find that out. I'm like, well, who did she get that from? That I've got a lot of questions, just like everybody else. I guess we'll just have to wait to get those answers. But evidence is out there. Physical evidence that they leave is out there, but it's just a lot slower coming out. Now, I believe there's a lot fewer of them out there than the Sasquatch people. But on the flip side, I think that a lot of Bigfoot reports are crossed over with and misidentified with Dogman reports. I think at a long distance, if people see something upright walking on its hind legs, they're just naturally going to say, well, it must have been a Bigfoot. And and if you saw a Dogman that was, say, 500 pounds at 300 yards, instead of thinking you saw a Dogman, you might just think, well, I saw a regular wolf type dog, but it was a little further away or a little closer than I thought. A Sasquatch has distinct characteristics, body type characteristics that set it apart from a human. So even at a distance, you can tell you're not looking at a human. But a Dogman, if it's on all fours, which I believe they spend most of their time on all fours, you're not going to be able to tell it from a canine.
I hate to butt in here, but I want to advertise for you just a little bit, Brian. Mark Roberts says he has a friend that saw what he said was a werewolf here in central Oklahoma. He has no interest in the cryptid subject, but he told me what he saw. If anybody on the show has something like that they would like to send to Brian, I know he has case files that he takes all of these in. Me, I don't really mess with like Dogman and stuff like that. I'm more, the Sasquatch thing. But Brian, he puts a great effort into documenting all manner of cryptids in the state. So Brian, if they wanted to send you a report, how would they do that?
Just go on to Facebook and find Red Dirt Cryptid Investigations. And I am the admin owner. Just send me a message on Facebook Messenger. Or if you want to do it the slow way, you can always reach out to me via email at reddirtcryptids@gmail.com. But yeah, it's really important that people who see these things, that they reach out to somebody who is documenting these things and putting them out there for the public. It's my Facebook page has links under the featured banner, and it will take you directly. There's a link in there. It's called Airtable. And if you go to my Facebook page and you click on that, and you're scaring me with the way you're looking there, Dave.
You're in a air-conditioned house. I'm the one out in the woods.
I'm telling you, there's something over there that he keeps looking at. It's giving me the
I'm hoping it'll step out in the road and I can see if it's a deer or a friendly neighborhood Sasquatch.
Yeah. But anyway, if you go to my Facebook page, there's the featured section that every Facebook page has. And one of the things that I have featured is my Airtable. If you click on that, it will take you straight to all my case files. They're completely public, and you can go in there, and they're broken down into different categories: Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Dogman, flying cryptids, little people, deer woman, and then there's one category that's just I don't know what it is. It's kind of unknown, and but we really need to document these. All my case files, except for 3, are completely public. You know, when somebody wants to be kept completely confidential and they don't want their story getting out, I respect that. And I try to
Oh, we have
be,
to.
oh,
We
yeah, I don't
absolutely
even,
have to.
yeah, when somebody tells me that they don't want anybody to know their name or where it's at, I don't even tell the other guys on my team. That's an agreement that we came up with a long time ago, and everybody respects them. And
Brian, here's a question for you, and I'm sure
yeah,
you will be able to answer this. Tonaldo 1469 asked, "Do the native peoples have a history with the dogmen like they have with the Sasquatch?"
yes, I'm not going to say every single tribe does, but a lot of them do, and a lot of them have origin stories. You know, Pete Buffalohead was at the Hanabi conference last year, was sharing a little bit about what the Ponca people believe were their origins, and I mean that shocked me. I'd never heard that before. That was completely different, but they do. Now, a lot of the tribes will absolutely refuse to talk about them because they believe they're evil. A lot of tribes, like the Cherokees, I think the Cherokees believe that dogmen are Sasquatch. They're the same. They're the
Hmm.
same. They're the same creature. Yeah, I've heard it from multiple ones of them, and I've always thought that that was kind of odd. And I would like to, if I ever got a chance to speak with a Cherokee elder that was in the know about that stuff, I would love to respectfully ask a few questions about that because I just don't understand how they can explain the difference in their rear legs and everything. But anyway, I'm not calling anybody a liar because nobody knows. There are no experts out here, and
Well, it's it's like you and I talked about earlier today in our conversation, and this was demonstrated with me last year at Honevi. You can have somebody says they saw something. It
uh
may not be that, but it doesn't mean they're lying about it. It was their
right.
perception of it. Me and another speaker at Honevi named Pete Buffalohead, we outside of the cabin we were staying in saw, for lack of a better word, what people call orbs down there. Of course, me seeing them, I thought, wow, that's really neat. It's been very dry. What kind of static electricity type aerial phenomenon is that? And I start walking off to it because I want to get close and see, what they are. And Pete, he was seeing them through his tribal cultural
uh
background. He said, don't follow them, David. I said, Pete, I'm going to follow them. I said, why would I not? He said, because, and this was his opinion. He said, those are the little people. He said, they'll lead you off into the woods and get you lost.
uh
Both of us saw the same thing, but both of us had totally different views on what that was. And I think the same thing can be said for whether you're talking about Sasquatch or uh, Dogman or whatever. I want to say this about so people will know where I personally stand on the Dogman thing. I'm kind of with Will Starr a little bit. He said that is half, as a scientific impossibility. To me, the Sasquatch makes sense. There, there's creatures in the fossil records very much like them. So to me, they make sense. I'm not saying people don't see a dogman, werewolf, or whatever they're describing it, but to me, that would fall more into a paranormal uh, type thing, as far as not a naturally occurring cryptid, and that's just where I'm at on that, because I know people that really believe that they saw that, um, and I'm certainly not going to say anybody's lying. Um, Here's a question for you, Brian. Has Brian seen this book, Oklahoma Seminoles Medicines, Magic, and Religion
Yeah.
by James H. Howard?
Yeah, you probably just saw me pull out my phone and take a picture of that comment. I was gonna,
Oh, okay. So
no,
you're going to, I take it, you're going to get that book.
yeah, I saw that and I was like, there's a lot of indigenous people literature out there nowadays on little people and Bigfoot and stuff like that. I think it's very valuable to educate yourself on what they've got to say, because it's kind of like we were talking about. You and I see things that we can see the same thing, but your background and everything else is going to change and shape how you interpret that information. And it's kind of funny. I mean, you probably have taken eyewitness encounter stories down from two different eyewitnesses, and you'll get different parts of the story from two different ones. That's why, when cops will separate eyewitnesses and try to get both of them, statement separately, and it's kind of funny, really, how two people can see the same thing and walk away with different impressions.
Especially if it was a traumatic event.
Right.
I read a story not a story, but an interview with a former hitman. This was back in the 80s. I remember reading an article. It was in a college class that I was taking at the time. And they asked him, he said the most popular place he liked to make a hit was a crowded street, because he said 15 minutes later, everybody would have a different description of what he was and all that. And that's true. And I've been in law enforcement before, and I know that's very much true. I'm going to try to get some questions here for you, Brian. I don't want to leave anybody out, and I appreciate you guys and your questions. Bruce Davis said, "Have you guys ever seen a Dogman?" Me, no. Brian?
Yes, twice.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
Twice.
better off before.
Do what now?
I was better off before.
Yeah.
I did one of the sightings that I had. I actually went back to that actual location and did a YouTube video on it. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see that one. It's called Brian's Encounter, I think. And it was broad daylight. I never saw it stand up on its hind legs. Actually, neither one of the creatures that I saw stood up on their hind legs, but the one that I saw was basically like a very large wolf, with a couple of exceptions. Its chest was really wide, and I did notice Will Starr's comment earlier about them being half human. Okay, and I think that's a pretty common people think that they're werewolves, and I'm starting to wonder now myself. For instance, there are other creatures that have a chest. The only part of a dogman that is human, or what people think is human, is the chest and upper torso. And the rest of it is completely canine. And, there are other animals out there that have, wider chests and have hands. I mean, if you was to take the chest portion and arms of a raccoon and increase them exponentially and make them proportional and put them on there, that is basically what you would be looking at for a dogman. And as a matter of fact, most people that get a good look at their hands say that they look like raccoon hands. So saying that they're part human is not exactly accurate. They're more animalistic in different ways. It just depends on the animal. But as far as like the ones that I saw, basically the one that I got the really good look at was a very large wolf with a wide chest, and I never saw him stand up on his hind legs. His body was a little bit longer than a normal dog, it seemed like, and he ran kind of funny. I noticed when he was running away from me on all fours, he would kind of kick his legs out really far, kind of like a German short-haired pointer, if you've ever been around one of those bird dogs. And sometimes they run real funny, but they're not the two that I seen didn't have any parts of them that looked human, unless, because I never got to see the actual hands. But the defining characteristic that sets the one that I saw apart is, I mean, we're talking about a 500 plus animal, in weight. I've seen, steer. I've seen this thing was bigger than some young steers I've seen. So, yeah. So that was what really set it apart. And
Okay, Mark Roberts asks, where did you see them?
The first one that I saw was kind of north and what would be east of Ringwood, Oklahoma, south of Hitchcock, Oklahoma. And the second one that I saw was over by Covington, Oklahoma. So,
can you guys hear these?
I just heard a mosquito.
Go ahead.
Well, anyway, but that was kind of my experience. Like I said, I went out to the actual location where I saw the second one. So the first one did have some differences in the face and stuff, but the rest of it was pretty much the same. So it had the first one that I saw was I think they call it a type 2.
And you take a good amount of Bigfoot reports too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got over 200 of them already.
As I remember, I forget what was the occasion, Brian. I was looking into some Bigfoot thing, and you sent me a pile of files to look through.
Oh, well, you asked for some. I don't remember. It was something to do with one of your books, or some project, a book that you might be still working on. I don't know, but yeah, I'll send you a link to all of them. I mean, they're all public, and and I don't.
Can you hear that?
Hold on, let me turn my volume up.
Can you hear that?
Vaguely.
I think it's some kind of bird. I can't identify it though. But anyway, I digress.
If it's a bird you can't identify, that pretty much narrows it down, right?
No, it's a bird. I just don't know what kind it is. Let's go back to this. Will Star says, thank you for clearing that up for me, Brian. I really didn't know. The name Dogman makes it seem like it's half human. Perhaps a better name for the creature is in order to stop any confusion.
Amen, brother. Yes.
So,
and well, hey, no problem. I mean, I'll answer any questions as best I can. And by the way, I love your channel. You do good work.
Yeah, if y'all haven't checked it out, check out Will Star's channel. He does a great job, especially recounting those old historical Bigfoot reports. I know he's kind of my go-to guy on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mark Roberts said he's probably heard 10 to 15 Bigfoot stories / sightings right here in Chandler, Oklahoma. Reputable people too.
Yeah. Well, hey, I need to hear those too. So reach out to me, sir.
But Sherry Porter said, Dogman scares me terribly. I hope there are no reports near Tahlequah. Brian?
Well, Sherry, you can, there's a link to my interactive map as well. You can go on to my Facebook page, and under featured, there's a interactive map. If you look at it, and you can see, all the different waypoints, and you can see, it'll have like a little wolf icon, or a Sasquatch icon, or a pterodactyl icon. Uh-oh, he's getting the flashlight out. and you can look and see, or you can access my case files. But there's really no part of the state that we don't have Dogman reports. They're spread out, and there's a few hot spots in the state, but for the most part, they're pretty evenly distributed, and they're a little bit harder to pattern than Sasquatch, which you can pretty much guarantee you're going to see them close to water, or a stream or a river or a lake. Not so much with dogmen. The two dogmen that I saw were actually pretty far away from a water source. So
Okay.
I think they travel, and they were both of them were out in the open.
Yeah.
So
I'm not laughing at you. Cashew made a comment, said YouTube is changing Will Starr's name to Will Stud. Kansas Squatch asks you, Brian, and I'm just assuming anybody with Dogman questions, they're asking Brian. Does Sulphur have any Dogman reports?
Sulphur, Oklahoma. I'd have to check my own files. Yes, there are Dogman reports in South Central Oklahoma. If you go a little bit further south of Sulphur, you're gonna find what's it called? Right there by the casino. Oh gosh, I'm having a moment.
By Sulphur? That would be Chickasaw.
South of Sulphur, right on the border. Brown Springs.
Davis?
Brown Springs. Yeah, Brown Springs.
Okay.
Brown Springs is known for Bigfoot activity, but there's a lot of dogmen reports coming out of there and around that lake. I've received 3 dogman reports recently from Eufaula. Or no, that's not. Yeah, that's Eufaula, right? Down there by Brown Springs.
Eufaula's over north of McAllister.
Yeah, okay, then that would be Texoma.
Texoma. Yeah, you're talking about Texoma down on the Texas-Oklahoma border.
Yeah, sometimes I get them confused.
Mark points out Sulphur is a Bigfoot hotspot. Yeah, I've taken several reports from that area, especially over around the Doherty area down there. That's pretty wild country.
Matthew Knapp had his encounter there from Bigfoot Crossroads.
So really?
That was his first encounter too. And that whole area, there's been stories of them raiding dumpsters and getting into stuff over there at the campsites there at the Springs area where Little Niagara and stuff is. So, but it's a great place to go swim. You guys need to go check that out.
And I'll tell you, the problem I got with like the Sulphur and Davis area, the Arbuckle Mountains, it seems like in the summer, they're always a good 20 degrees hotter than anywhere else. That exposed rock, man, it's hot down in there.
And it stays hot after the sun goes down.
Yeah. There's my friend David Perkins. He's from down southwest Oklahoma. He said, am I camping? I'm not staying all night. David, this podcast was very spur of the moment. I didn't even have it planned till this afternoon. I was just tired of being in the house in the heat, and I called Brian and said, hey, you want to be on a podcast tonight? And he said, sure. So I drove back out here into the woods, and that's what we're doing. But no, I'm not staying the night. The mosquitoes are still chewing on me, and I didn't even bring anything out here but stuff to do the podcast. Bear-proof trash cans at Sulphur Springs Pat Campground.
Yes, he is absolutely correct. And why would you need those? I don't know.
Bear-proof trash cans? I'm assuming for bears.
I don't think we have as many bears as what people put on. What they say. I don't know.
Even down here where I'm at, in this area, there's been from time to time people catch a bear coming through on their game cameras or something like that. But I've yet to run into any bears here in Hughes County. But I know they do come through. Matter of fact, the game was on the Channel 4 News one night a couple of years ago that they were saying that if you're anywhere east of I-35, you have the possibility of running into a bear, you know.
Yeah.
And really, I'm not too worried about the bears that we have now. The mountain lions, if we got one of them around, I'm a bit. Those things are a little sketchy to me.
I think black bears are pretty tame most of the time. When you see one, I mean, maybe there's a difference between the ones you run into in Colorado and the ones you run into here, but you know, when you see one, they just run away, and you know, they try to get out.
Well, I've seen two in the wild, and they were both down in southeast Oklahoma, and they both ran as soon as they saw me. That's what I want them to do, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim P said we are loaded with black bears all over Massachusetts. Yeah, I don't doubt it.
They're quite a nuisance, I'm telling you. The first black bear I ever seen in my life had a diaper in its mouth.
Really?
Yeah, it's like it's got something in its mouth. What is that?
Ah, gross.
Nature at its finest.
Oh, no kidding. The classy black bear chewing on a used diaper.
Oh, yeah.
Well, does anybody else have any questions for Brian? I just brought up the Dogman thing because I know that's I've actually never brought that up that I can remember on this podcast, but Brian is very well rounded. He does not discriminate on what kind of cryptid encounter that he will look into. And
yeah, if you've seen it, you just reach out to me, and and I'm not one of these guys that doctors up the case file to make it sound more sanitary. I don't think it's my job. It's my job just to write down exactly what they say and just document it, because you know this whole thing, it's all weird, you know. Yeah. How are you going to sanitize a cryptid report? I mean, I just write down.
You know, me and Brian actually talked for about 30, 40 minutes earlier this afternoon about these things, and I want to know what percentage of sightings, whether it be Bigfoot or Dogman, because, you know, nowadays, I mean, Bigfoot's a big part of pop culture. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody that does not have knows what a Bigfoot is or are familiar with the term.
A preconceived notion. Yeah.
Becoming pop culture as well. How many reports do you receive of either one? Do you think there's a good chance of just mistaken identity? I'm not talking about hoaxes. I'm talking about mistaken identity.
Well, I always try to ask people, you know, how far away was the creature and how good a look did you get at it, stuff like that. It makes sense that the further the creature is away from the eyewitness, that there would be a higher likely, you know, percentage chance that they just misidentified it. But you know, I mean, I try to be pretty liberal, you know, and assume the worst. But I would be willing to say that maybe 30% of the reports could be misidentification, but I think that probably applies to Sasquatch too.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people call me and they'll tell me, you know, I had a guy call me one time and he said he'd seen a Wendigo, and I was like, whoa, you know, that's a new one on me. And you know, so I started asking him questions, and I've got a way of asking questions that's kind of sneaky, because I don't want to plant any ideas into the person's head because there's psychology involved in questioning an eyewitness, and if you're not careful, you can plant ideas in their head, and that's the last thing I want to do. I want them to tell me what they saw. And so I'm very careful about the questions I ask and how I ask them. And after talking to this guy for a little bit and questioning him, um, the only reason that he thought it was a Wendigo is because it had deer horns, and everything else that he described about it matched up with a Sasquatch. So what I ended up with was a Sasquatch report that was pretty weird, where it was wearing deer horns. I I didn't sanitize it. I just wrote it down, you know. So everybody knows a Wendigo has a long nose, right? Not this one. So,
T. Davis said from North Louisiana, black bears suck and you can't touch them. Never seen a Bigfoot or Dogman or anything else.
well,
Yeah.
Mr. Davis, you shoot them all you want to. Just right before you pull the trigger, you yell, "Oh my God, it's coming right for me!"
Oh
Oh
man.
man, yeah. Oh man, D-
So
Demon Wolf. I like that. That's pretty good.
Brian,
Uh,
you want to tell us anything more about upcoming projects you've got for your red dirt cryptid? Anything big planned for the fall or winter?
well, we're fixing to sit down tomorrow uh, via the local cafe and Facebook Messenger phone calls, and we're going to sit down with the calendar and plan them. I can pretty much already tell you we've got a few places we will be going. We'll be going to Canton sometime. We'll be going down to southeastern Oklahoma sometime.
Okay.
We're going to be hitting that. We've got a spot down there in the Washitas that we go pretty much every year. Last time we went down there, we had every time we go down there, we have activity of some sort, and I just love that area. But I think it's best down in there in the winter time. We'll be down there. My friend Coleman is got a project going, and I'm not exactly sure when or where, but we're going to be doing some work down at Brown Springs. And let's see, we're also going to be doing some work up in northeastern Oklahoma. I've got I'm participating in a Paracon in Caney, Kansas, and
Oh, cool.
I'm going to be doing a talk on what Red Dirt Cryptids has to offer there, and I'm going to be involved in some as a panelist on some question and answer panel thing that they're doing. But that's I think that's here in about a month. I'd have to look at my calendar to see the exact date on that, but it's if you look at the Caney, Kansas library, Caney is right on the border, and it's just north of Bartlesville, and that whole area up there is a hot spot, and you wouldn't know it because it's not as talked about as southeastern Oklahoma, but that whole area up there is deep, dark, woolly woods. I mean, it's just ooh, yeah, and there's a lot of reports down there from the Oolagaw, and there's another lake there just south of Caney, and we've even gotten several reports from Osage Hills State Park down there, just recently. There's a lot going on up there. Years ago they had the Noxie monster running around up
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah.
It was famous at the time, and but then everything kind of died down and everybody forgot. But those creatures are still there. We're going to be going there. We really don't have a super set schedule, but we're gonna have a lot going on. We'll probably be doing something, an expedition every month, which is how we normally do it.
Oh, cool.
So sometimes
Um,
we make videos, sometimes we don't.
got a question here, and I'm going to answer it, and then I'm going to let you answer it too. Kansas Squatch said, in your opinion, how many encounters in Oklahoma would you be characterized as aggressive? I'm going to assume he's meaning Sasquatch, and I'm going to answer that. I don't have any reports myself of a Sasquatch being aggressive that didn't first involve somebody shooting at them. And that's me personally. And historically, we see that a lot too. Uh, Brian?
Well, the first thing I would do is define what you mean by aggressive. If somebody thinks throwing a rock at them is aggressive, or a roar or something, but that's really not the case. You got to realize that if we get a report from an eyewitness, that means that person lived through it, and
Right.
so basically all of them are going to be non-aggressive, because these things, if they wanted you, they'd own you anytime they wanted to. And
Yeah, of course.
so I would say none of them. And you know we do have a few people come up missing in Oklahoma, and I would say, yeah, you might be able to, say a certain percentage of those missing people could be Sasquatch related, but you're probably talking about, less than 2% of these people that come up missing in Oklahoma. I mean, I if it's anything, it's nil.
Mm.
They're smart enough to know that they don't want any part of us. We're like a disease. If they touch
Yeah, I
us,
agree.
if they touch us, and they end up, you know, paying a price for it. Bare minimum, they're going to have to relocate. You're going to have to
Mm.
go to a different area, which that in itself is probably problematic, with territories and stuff like that, finding a place for
And
food sources.
at least the reports that I have gotten that somebody has said they were aggressive, like I say, they involved somebody taking shots at them. Those people still were not hurt by these things.
Yeah.
Now that does,
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not potentially dangerous. Of course they could be, but I
Mhm.
just haven't received those reports myself. And if I was that worried about it, I wouldn't be sitting out here by myself. you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and probably the most famous case would be the Siege of Hanabi. And, you know, we've got all these different versions of the story that's floating around on the internet, and the BRFO has a report. Um, no offense, BRFO, but you guys ruined your credibility a long time ago. How do we know that report didn't get sanitized too? And so we've got all these different versions of the story, but none from the people who were actually there at the time and the people that actually did it. And so there's a lot of hearsay about that. But even from the hearsay stories, we don't have any evidence that these creatures were trying to kill the human beings. I think they were just trying to get to the food.
excuse
And
me.
I hope we don't hear gunfire. That would not be good. But the Humphrey brothers, they had several situations where these things had encounters with them, and I believe the wife had an encounter at her car with one of them. And the way I understand it, that whole deal, everything okay, Dave?
Yeah, there's something over there in the woods. It may be a cow on the other side of the fence, but I just wanted to go look.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
But the way I understand it, and the way that house was laid out and everything, though, those creatures could have come running out of the woods and snatched them at any given time over that multiple month, fiasco that they had going on. And but hey, what do I know? I wasn't there. I'm just going
Sure.
off of the stories of what people said. So um, who knows? But that, to the best of my knowledge, that's the only common attack story. And the most aggressive thing they really did was try to get in the house. So.
Yeah, it's Bigfoot, South Dakota. Man, I tell you what, I just got a travel brochure from South Dakota. I'm thinking about making a trip up there. Not this year. Me and the wife, we're going to go to Colorado for vacation this year, but South Dakota's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I digress. But yeah, on the aggressive Bigfoot, like to get up here, Tonaldo said if Bigfoot wanted to hurt or kill, it would be a done deal. As powerful, as fast, as elusive. I think if one of them was really trying to get you, you probably wouldn't know it till you was got.
Yeah.
But a Will Star, if he's still here, he came down to Oklahoma last October, and he and I went down into the mountains a couple of nights, and we had a lot of activity around our camp, and something did throw a rock into our camp. No, Will, I'm not flying. You know I don't fly. But no, and I got it on recording on the night vision. I was recording because we were hearing these unseen things walking around. You know, don't want to just assume that it was Bigfoot, but we were hearing vocalizations. Got a very loud scream right behind where we were sitting. Very, very bright night, burn ban, so we didn't have a campfire. But yeah, as we got back into camp after walking around in the dark, something did throw a rock into camp, and I got the sound of it anyway. I mean, it's not proof, but it was definitely got our attention. And that's your guard dog, I assume.
Dogman.
Dogman. Dog pup.
No,
Sturgis Valentine, so nothing but motorcycle noise for the next week. Yeah, I would avoid. I don't ride a motorcycle, so I would avoid that at that time. Well, guys, we've been going a little over an hour. Does anybody have any more questions? Oh, Brian, let's talk about the report you got that had the Bigfoot wearing antlers or something. This person, M, said it may have been sporting a new antler headpiece from dinner.
Yeah. Well, and the thought crossed my mind that maybe it was thrown over his shoulder somehow or something. You know, it was in close proximity to a deer feeder because that was the premise under which he was actually out there at that location. He was actually going out there to fill his deer feeder, and he shined his bright lights on it, and he saw it, and I guess it pretty much took his breath away. And he got the hell out of there. I guess his deer feeder didn't get filled that night. But
hey, here we got somebody. Lane Norton said, greetings from Skinwalker area, Uintah Basin. Great show. Thank you, Lane.
Oh, thank you, sir.
David Perkins named your dog Little Big Dog. Or no, the Little Dog Man.
Yeah. He's a Pomeranian. I got two of them over here.
Brian's dog looks like a little Chewbacca.
His name is Chewy. Yeah. Yeah. He's a little too small to take out in the field with me. So.
Yeah, but he's got the ferocious bark.
Yeah. Well, they think they're going to get a treat now.
Hey, Bruce, thank you for stopping by. So thank you guys for the stream. I'm new to this channel. Well, welcome.
Thanks, Bruce.
Like I said, usually I put a little bit of more planning into something like this. On a perfect day, Brian would have known about us going to do this like a week ago, and I would have been building it up. But we literally threw this together in about a 30-minute conversation this afternoon, and I'm glad you guys showed up. Let's see. Tonaldo said, what have you been doing for the last couple of months? Just work, really. Just it's been so darn hot. I haven't gone camping and stuff. When it's 100+ degrees, I just it takes all the fun out of it. So
yeah, that's kind of the same with me. When it gets this hot, I don't want to do a whole lot. Do you swallow that skeeter?
I swallowed a mosquito.
I knew that sound. but yeah, I went and recently purchased a. Uh-oh.
Well, maybe it'll come closer. There's something out there in the woods.
Well, if it was a cow, you'd already seen it.
Yeah, it's not a cow. It's a larger animal. It could be a deer or something, but anyway. Yeah, and again, you know, Donnie Grease said, "Rest in peace, Scott Carpenter." Yeah, that's that's very sad. And again, heart goes out to his family. Whether you agree with Scott's conclusions on what Sasquatch and all that is or was, he was definitely an influence in this subject, and was very hands-on. Always out in I think it was the Smoky Mountains where he lived there, or the Blue Ridge, something like that. And he was always out hiking around and videoing his walks. So, like I said, whether you come to the same conclusion to him or not, you know, he was a big influence in this subject, and he will certainly be missed. And again, you know, heart goes out to his family.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And man, I hope that, you know, Peter Byrne passed away last week. Of course, he was near 100 years old, so, you know.
Yeah.
But still. Well, guys, I think we're going to call it a night and head out unless anybody's got a last minute anything. But we've been going about nearly an hour and a half. So, Brian, you have anything else you want to throw out?
No, I think I'm good. It's nice seeing everybody here, and I appreciate everybody showing up and being friendly. So
yeah, we had a pretty good crowd, and yeah, what he said, I cannot tell you enough in the chat how much I appreciate everybody being respectful. We don't have to agree on all. This ain't a religion. This is a fun mystery to me. Exchange of ideas. We can learn stuff from each other, you know, and I sincerely appreciate everybody being kind in the chat. I really do. It's been fun hanging out. So, Mel, maybe I'll throw something together for next week. We'll wait and see. So, unless something gets me while I'm walking out of here, but
I'm starting to wonder.
Yeah, maybe I'll actually see what that is blundering around in the woods over there. I'm not thinking Sasquatch because he's not being very stealthy if it is. But anyway, again, thanks everybody for stopping by, and Brian, thank you for being a part of this on such short notice.
It was fun.
Until next time, everybody, please take care of yourself.